Day one of construction work, I showed up in sneakers, actual sneakers. By lunch, I understood exactly why that was a mistake.
I'd taken the job because it paid more than anything else I could find with zero experience. I figured, how hard could carrying stuff around actually be? Walking onto the site that first morning, everyone else looked like they'd been doing this since birth. I looked like I'd wandered in off a hiking trail. The foreman looked me up and down for a solid 5 seconds before saying, "You've never done this before, have you?" It wasn't a question. They handed me a hard hat 2 sizes too big and boots that felt like I'd borrowed them from a much larger stranger. I looked ridiculous. I felt ridiculous. My first job was carrying lumber from one pile to another. Simple, right? I dropped an entire stack within the first 10 minutes. A couple of the older guys laughed. Not cruelly, more like they remembered being exactly this bad once. Didn't make it sting less in the moment, though. Next, I was handed a nail gun with a 2-sentence explanation. I held it backwards for a full minute before someone gently, and by gently I mean loudly, corrected me. Lunch break, I sat by myself at the edge of the site, eating a sandwich that had gotten completely smashed in my bag. Fitting, honestly. By 2 p.m., the sun felt personal. I understood, for the first time in my life, what people meant when they said heat could make you stupid. Then I almost walked straight into a beam swinging from a crane. A guy grabbed my shoulder and yanked me back so hard I nearly fell over. That was the moment it stopped feeling like a game. I drove home that first night with dirt in places I didn't know dirt could reach, and muscles I didn't know I had screaming at me. I sat in my car in the driveway for 10 minutes before I could move. Day 2, I woke up and genuinely questioned whether my body still worked. Getting out of bed took actual strategy. But day 2, something clicked. I carried the lumber right. Didn't drop a single board. It sounds small. It felt enormous. One of the guys who'd laughed at me the day before actually started explaining things instead of just watching me fail. Small gesture. Meant a lot. The foreman was not thrilled. He didn't scream exactly, but his voice got that flat, controlled tone that somehow feels worse than yelling. I sat in my car at lunch that day and seriously considered not going back after the break. I had the resignation text typed out. Didn't send it, but I typed it. Instead, I called my older brother, who'd worked labor jobs for years. He just said, "Everyone's terrible in week 1. The only difference is who keeps showing up." So I went back in. Not because I suddenly felt confident, because I decided showing up mattered more than feeling ready. The rest of the week became a blur of small improvements. Fewer dropped boards, straighter cuts. I stopped needing 3 reminders for the same instruction. By Thursday, lunch wasn't lonely anymore. The same guys who'd laughed at me that first day waved me over to sit with them. Friday, a storm rolled in halfway through the shift. We kept working through the drizzle because the deadline didn't care about weather. I learned real quick that construction doesn't pause for comfort. By the end of that week, I'd helped frame an entire section of wall, stood back and looked at it, and for the first time, felt like I'd actually built something instead of just surviving being there. The foreman walked by, looked at the wall, looked at me, and just said, "Not bad." From him, that was basically a standing ovation. I went in that first week thinking construction was just physical labor. Turns out the real work was proving to myself I could be bad at something in public and keep showing up anyway. If you're starting something you feel completely unqualified for right now, that's normal. Everyone's terrible in week 1.
The only difference is who keeps showing up. If this story hit home, hit that like button and follow along, because every stick has a story, and there's a new one coming every week.